This episode is brought to you by Audacia Capital. Audacia Capital is a leading fixed income specialist on the Irish Stock Exchange. Audacia Capital is known for its bold and innovative approach in the corporate bond space. For more information, visit our website at audaciaplc.com.
This is the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. I'm Glenn Hoddle.
Welcome to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. This is episode 25. Episodes are released on Sunday evenings, and we hope you will join us throughout the season. Today we discuss the latest from the Premier League and have a chat about the England versus India cricket test that lasted just 2 days. Glenn answers questions from the Evening Standard newspaper for his weekly column Ask Hoddle, which you can read every Monday. Well, Glenn, let's start off today with the questions from the Evening Standard readers. And very sad news today with the death of Glenn Roeder. And Anthony asks, following the sad news about Glenn Roeder today, what are your memories of him and your time working together with England?
Yeah, Chris, I was devastated when I heard the news. I know he's been ill for some time, but, you know, my heart and my feelings go out to him and his family. He was a lovely, lovely guy, a really good coach. I remember playing against him for different clubs for QPR, played against him at Orient, Newcastle, a terrific defender, was a wonderful defender, had this wonderful little trick really as a centre-back, and centre-forwards could never suss it out when he was going to do it. He used to do a step over and he was the last man. He was the last man in defence, and he would do the step over and come out on the ball, and you knew he was going to do it. And some lovely memories in training when we used to mess around, you know, and him doing that when we were playing five-a-sides with the staff, you know, stuff like that. No, just a wonderful guy, a really great guy. And as I say, I was devastated when I heard it on the television, like probably the rest of the football world. And you know, my thoughts and my heart go out to Faith and his family.
He'd been ill for an awful long time, hadn't he? As a manager, he had that brain tumour, which we all saw him suffer from. It's terrible that such a long illness makes it even worse, really, sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's devastating. And, you know, I will always remember the great time that we had. You know, he was one of my coaches at England, and the players respected him immensely. And as you say, he did well as manager. And he had a real love for the game, and he was a very astute person when it comes to football. And it was great. It was really great working with him. You know, going into the World Cup and all the qualifiers. It was you know, I'll always remember the lovely, wonderful times that we had together.
Nice words. Thank you, Glenn. Very sad news today about the death of Glenn Roeder, who's passed away. Thanks to Anthony for the question as well, for pointing that out to us today. Obviously, we would have spoken about that either way. We'll carry on with the standard questions. David asked, what did you make of the Callum Hudson-Odoi handball incident in the Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge?
Well, this is always going to be debates, you know, about decisions like this. You know, for football, as a football man, I'm pleased that it wasn't a penalty. It doesn't matter what team it would be with. I was delighted that it wasn't given, but I have seen them given, and I would understand with the new. They seem to be changing the handball rules every other week, and you know, there's been matches I've seen when there's been worse handballs given than that. And this is the inconsistency that's happening with these handball scenarios. I really do think we're causing ourselves. Football's causing itself problems with the rules that it's bringing out. You know, deliberate handball should be the punishment for a penalty if it's deliberate. And you know, you could tell that was accidental. It did touch his hand first. I saw Tuchel talking after the game, and he was saying. And from one angle, it does look like Greenwood touches first with his arm. But when you have the reversed angle and he come in, and you see Hudson-Odoi's hand touch it first, and then Greenwood's arm touches it. So, you know, it is so delicate. It's so sort of small margins. But at the end of the day, for football's sake, I was pleased it wasn't given. But I could understand if you're Ollie and you're a Man United fan or a player, you'd be a little bit disappointed, obviously, that when you see others being given like that. It depends what referee you got, and it depends on the day, really. And that's, we shouldn't be going down that route as football. It's too big a business. It's too important to everyone's lives, fans and owners and managers, players. Let's get back to deliberate handball, and it'll be just much easier for everyone to see. If it's deliberate handball, then it's handball.
Solskjaer was very irate after the game in his interview with Sky, who obviously covered the match, and they interviewed Luke Shaw as well, and they asked Luke Shaw what he thought of it, and Luke has come out and said, so this is in the open, we're not making this up, we heard it on TV, that he was told by Harry Maguire, that the referee said to Harry Maguire, look, I can't give the penalty because it's going to cause too much controversy. If that's true, that's an incredible statement, if it's true.
Well, this is it, if it's true. I mean, there's no reason for Harry Maguire to come out and say that, I would imagine, unless he wants to wind his teammates up. But if he's heard that from the referee's lips, then it's outrageous, really. I mean, there is no defence. Petrocelli couldn't get the referee off that in court if that's what he said. Quite honestly, I can't for 1 minute think a referee would give that excuse to a player that has had that turned down. You just want to just get on with the game. I've made my decision, blah blah blah. But but coming back to the football side of it, I'm pleased that those decisions don't end up as penalties, to be quite honest. But no, I'm absolutely staggered if that's what he said.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. But I don't know why he would go on TV and say that if it wasn't the truth. It's going to come back and bite in a fine of some sort. Big time.
What it does do, it shows you, even though VAR's come round the corner and it's been here now for a while, it just shows you. We thought it would take the pressure off referees. But it's still putting the pressures on referees in a massive way. So it's not the solution, is it?
More importantly, the players don't know what's handball, and if the players don't know, how can you play the game? That's the major problem, I guess, isn't it? Really,
it's whatever it's whatever given week or whatever.
Yeah,
that same referee could give the opposite decision next week to a similar scenario, and he'll give a penalty. The same guy. So this is where we're at in football, and these decisions are going to determine whether cups are won. Maybe not the league. I think over the league, over the
season,
38 games over a season, that might have not. But cup games, particularly, in the latter periods of games, in the 80th minute and onwards, where key decisions for penalties are given, and if they're wrong, they're gonna determine who actually wins the cup or gets through to the next round, and that can't be right for the game.
This episode is brought to you by the Lily White Foundation. We believe sport is fundamental to the development of young people, but sadly, many young people in difficult financial or social circumstances don't get the opportunities most of us take for granted. The Lily White Foundation supports projects that help children and young people take part in sports and activities. For more information, go to lilywhitefoundation.com. You're listening to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Glenn, this is how to do it.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email glenn at midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
Today at Leicester, it's not Arsenal I want to talk about, it's Leicester. How unlucky have they been with losing Maddison? They lost Vardy for a while, and now Harvey Barnes out today, and he's going to be out for a few weeks. Terrible for Leicester, and also not good for your friend Gareth Southgate.
No, unfortunately, Barnes has been playing exceedingly well, hasn't he? Particularly in Maddison. I just think the whole of the season I've been impressed with Leicester, with the way they've played, but also with the way they've coped with losing key players. It's not the first time this has happened. All through the season, they've had to readjust. They've lost centre-backs, they've lost midfield players, they've lost front players and creative players. and they've always managed to overcome and keep the performance level really high and the results. But now, just now, in this moment in time, we're going, in the back end of February, going into March, and it's an awful time to actually hit a little bit of bad form. So yes, they're going to be tested to the hilt now without those players. And Brendan Rodgers has done a great job there. I really feel he has. But this is a key moment. Now this makes it, in the next coming 2 or 3 fixtures, this gives the likes of Arsenal and Tottenham and the teams that are just sitting behind Villa, Everton,
West Ham as well.
Ham, of course. This gives them some sort of glimmer of hope in many ways, because I think Leicester are going to find it very difficult in the coming weeks. I've thought that though, and I might be proved totally wrong, and they might readjust again. But does the depth of their squad keep going so deep? I'm not so sure. If they lose all them players at the same time, that's going to be a tough one for them.
Well, last season I spoke to a Leicester fan who thought they had a great first team, but the squad wasn't quite good enough to get them in the top 4, and they fell away at the end of the season. Do you think they can still hang on to top 3 or 4 this season, even though they've had all of these injuries? It's going to be much harder now, isn't it, obviously?
I think it will be hard, and I think there are a lot of big clubs and good teams chasing them as well. So if they do falter, I think if they slide out of the top 4, I don't see them being a squad that can actually, jump back in there. But if they can consolidate a little bit and just hang on in there, and I think it might have to be that. I think Brendan Rodgers is shrewd enough to think, well, perhaps certain periods in games, if we are leading, we're going to have to do this differently and see a game out. They play the same way. They play very open football, good football. But I think maybe with those type of players out, he's going to have to look at it slightly different. But obviously, the big question mark is, can they get in that winning position in the first place, to actually do that, which is going to be key.
I know you're a big man for the confidence factor that the players need to have it. They need to have the belief. But what a massive week for Arsenal, who were very late in the day beating Benfica. They could have gone out of the Europa League. They were 1-0 down at Leicester. They came back to 3-1. Arteta's the hero. After 2 games, it could have been so different. But Arsenal played really well today, I thought. Yes,
I was impressed with the with the result, I've got to say. And as you say, the away goals, they were at one stage they were going out, but it was a wonderful. We've got to talk about Arsenal. We talk about United and we talk about Fernandes. We talk about different teams, and we talk about Kane at Tottenham. You've got to mention the young boy Saka at Arsenal. He's put a ball on a plate there under pressure, and that's what made the goal for Aubameyang to get Arsenal through. And he seems to just have that knack of coming up trumps when Arsenal need him. And he's a very, very good young player. He really is. So credit to him and credit to Arsenal, because I thought against Leicester, once they went 1-0 down, I thought that was going to be difficult for them. But they showed a lot of character. Got back, the penalty was a penalty, but they're offensively, they're a good side, Arsenal. I've always felt that going forward, they'll always cause you a problem. He's now got a system that works for him. He's got young energy in the side. Yeah. You still feel you can score against Arsenal. You feel as if they're vulnerable at the back. And whilst you're like that, I wonder how many Arsenal fans out there would wish that Martinez had stayed at Arsenal with him in goal behind that back 4. He's been absolutely brilliant at Villa, hasn't he? So there's one for them that I think to myself, if they had him in goal there now, that would tighten them up a lot more. But you just feel as if you can score against Arsenal. But in the same vein, it's almost like, well, if you score 2, we'll go and get 3 ourselves. And, it's entertaining football.
For our listeners who are 18 and over, we have teamed up with Bohemian Brands Football Vodka, where you can buy premium alcohol in your favourite footy team's colours. Click on the link directly from our podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon, etc., and you'll be able to get a direct link to the Bohemian Brands website, where you can choose the team of your choice. The bottles are a brilliant present for any Footy Mad friend or family member. So either click on our link or visit midnightuk.co.uk and go to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show page where you'll find more information on Bohemian brands. Remember, 18 and over only, and please drink responsibly. Thanks. We will talk about VAR in a moment. I want to talk about the bottom of the league a little bit. Newcastle drawing at home to Wolves on Saturday. They were hoping to claw the gap. Brighton losing at West Brom, of course, in that VAR game we'll speak about. But what's Steve Bruce's work been like this season? He's always in the headlines for negatives, isn't he? He can't do anything right. I mean, with the squad he's got, is he doing the best he can? I would have thought, they should be giving him a pay increase or something for keeping him where he does.
Yeah, I think that's when Steve went to Newcastle. I don't think he was going to be expected to do anything else. Stay in the division. Do they really think at the moment that squad or what they've spent on that squad is going to get them into Europa? Or I think the problem is for Steve and for Newcastle and their fanatical fans is the problem is they look at, let's say, well, even say Leicester, not they've gone and won the league, Leicester, but as a club, Leicester in the top four. They look at Wolves, what Wolves have done over the last few seasons playing in Europa. They see them on the same level as those clubs. They look at West Ham at the moment. West Ham were battling away down there with Newcastle last year.
And I suppose Villa as well. They'd look at Villa, wouldn't they, after what they did last season?
Villa's another example, Chris. You're correct. Absolutely spot on. And they're looking at them and saying, well, if that can happen to them, those clubs, we can do that. We should be doing that. And I don't think they're expecting Steve to get them into the top four or Europa at the moment, but I think they're expecting more. And it's been tough. But at the moment, being safe from being in the relegation fight is where I see Newcastle actually at this moment in time. They will have their moments. They'll have their moments of lovely, a great game where they'll win 2-0 and it'll all go well for them. But then they'll have their 2 or 3 games where it just doesn't. The inconsistency levels will be up and down, up and down. And I think it's been like that for years and it will remain like that at the moment, I think.
They've got Callum Wilson, which is a big help. Obviously, he's been injured recently, but he's very good. I saw a thing on Twitter during the week from a guy who impersonates managers very well. He follows me as well. I think it's called Darren. And he did a piece where he was Steve Bruce on one side of it and Harry Kane on the other. And the scenario was Steve Bruce was going to buy Harry Kane. And he said, with you, Harry, and Joe Linton, you'll score 100 goals between you. You'll score 99 and Joe Linton will score 1. And that is the problem. They've been signing goal scorers who haven't been scoring goals.
Well, I think Wilson is a good striker, and I think he's one that if he hadn't got injured, I think he's one over a longer period of time would be one that would score goals. And don't forget, when you're playing, no disrespect to Newcastle, but Steve and Newcastle fans have to understand. You're not going to get 25 chances in every game. You're going to have to be a striker that takes the ratio of you might get 1 or 2 chances in a game, and you've got to take one of out of 2 or 3. Yeah. And then you might have to wait a game or 2 games before you get another chance. That they're not a team that's going to create and over-create loads and loads of chances for a striker to finish off like an Ian Rush sort of finishing off all the great moves and all the great chances. So you've got to have somebody, and I think Wilson will prove that he is capable of that sort of ratio.
And you don't think the club are going to start changing manager when they lose another couple of games and they get closer to the relegation area? That's the sort of time when owners react, isn't it? Surely they'll leave Steve in charge.
I would imagine that. I think Steve Bruce's job is safe this season. Yeah, it's still going to be very difficult for any of those bottom 3 to sneak out of there. And Fulham got the draw last night. I think if they'd have actually got a win last night, then it would have perhaps been. I just don't know whether those teams can be consistent enough to get out of trouble.
Talking about VAR, as we promised we would, West Brom Brighton. Now, you mentioned a few weeks ago, do you remember, I think it was in the World Cup many years ago, there was a rogue whistle. There was a corner, it came across, and just as the ball was headed in, the referee blew the whistle and said it's half-time. In the West Brom game, the referee blew the whistle, they let Dunk take the free kick, and before it went in the net, he blew it again and said, hold on, I've changed my mind. That can't be right either, can it?
No, it can't. If you blow that, you're waiting. I was a free kick taker out in and around the penalty area for most of my career, and that's the thing. I used to I'd be asking the referee, can I take a quick free kick? And normally, nine times out of 10, I think there was a couple of occasions where they said you can, and they stepped out of the way. But normally they say, no, wait for the miss, because back in the day, and now, back in the day, the wall would only be 8 yards away, whereas now, they have to and they have to put the line down, and then they come back. So it's a lot more. You're waiting for you can't take that quick one. You're waiting for the referee's whistle, and it all depends on the whistle. Now, I saw it happening, and as it was unfolding, I was thinking, I like him. I think Sam Johnson is a fantastic goalkeeper, but I'm thinking, the wall, and sometimes it's the wall's fault, not the goalie. I'm thinking, you're taking a long time here, I was thinking you could get caught out here, get yourself back across the goal. Maybe the wall wasn't lined up like he wanted it to be, but whatever the reason, he was there for a long time, and then the whistle's blown, and I think out the corner of his eye, I think the ref has seen that he hasn't seen him lining the wall up still. And reacted to it, and that's the reason why. I'm not saying that's that's correct by any means, because if that was me taking that free kick, and I'd have definitely been down his ear.
Well, what's the manager going to think? You know what it's like as a manager. You want things to be a little bit on your side. I mean, that's just totally against you, isn't it? When things like, they missed 2 penalties as well, which doesn't help. But you score a goal like that, and you lose the game, an important game. Graham Potter must be thinking, what on earth have I got to do?
In some ways, that scenario of that free kick has summed up Brighton's season. Open play in some of the games they've played, they've been very impressive as a team, and never. I think they've hit I watched a game early in the season where they hit the bar and the post 5 times. As you mentioned there, they've missed 2 penalties. Well,
and they hit the post. Well, they hit the bar and the post on the pens. Keeper didn't save either of them.
Yeah, and they've hit the crossbar and I've never seen a team hit the bar and the post so much in a season, and also play very well and create a hell of a lot of chances. Well, you've got to say, you've got to be better finishing. Then if you're creating that amount of chances, you've got to finish better. Of course, that's a given, but. You just wonder whether, everything seems to be against Brighton at the moment. What can go against them seems to go against them. They're not getting the luck, but I still think they're going to be safe. I really do. Because for a team that's down the bottom there, or so-called in a relegation fight, not that they're in the fight at this moment in time, they play some very, very free-flowing football, and that's difficult to do when you're under pressure.
Yeah, well, they're only 3 points off Fulham now. They're on 26 along with Newcastle. Fulham have 23, West Brom 17, and Sheffield United have 12 at the moment as we speak. So it's getting close. It only need a couple of wins. Southampton are 14th, by the way. What happened there? Fell off the lorry.
Well, they have done. If you lose the amount of games they've lost back to back, then that's going to happen, isn't it? They at one stage they did have, that 9-0 drubbing at Old Trafford. They had nine first-team players out as well at that stage. So they've been hit by injuries. But no, you're right. There's a lot of teams at Burnley. There's a lot of teams floating in that. It's very difficult to judge a team at the moment when you're in that position where you know deep in your heart you need a few more points, obviously, but you're not going to go down.
Looking at the Lillywhite Foundation predictor table, I could do with a few more points, Glenn. I mean,
it's
impossible. I got a couple right this weekend. I got West Brom score right, and I think I got the Newcastle score right. But 4-0 for Tottenham, you must have had that. You and Ozzy would have had that. They're the only 2.
I think I went 2-0. I went
Yeah,
2-0. I didn't go as so
still in
bold
there.
the 4-0, yeah.
Yeah, still in there. Listen, last week we had a competition with our friends at memo.me where you could win a video from the man himself. Glenn Hoddle is going to send you a personal video. And our friends at Memo have told us that it was won by Baker Lilivic, who did the right thing, went to Instagram, followed them back, sent it out to a friend. I did everything that you needed to do. So, Baker, they'll be in touch with you, and then you can tell Glenn what you would like the video to say, if it's to you or it's your girlfriend or a friend or family member, and Glenn will sort that out for you in cooperation with memo.me. Check them out. You can get a video from your favorite footballer or TV personality, personalized, sent directly to your inbox for you or a friend or anybody you'd like to have around. So well done to Baker, and thanks to everybody who entered on that competition. We will have more competitions in the future, and coming up in a couple of weeks' time, maybe 4 weeks or so, we're going to have Gavin Peacock on the show. Glenn, one of your, I think your first signing at Chelsea, in fact, who is now living over in Canada. He's left the country and has changed profession. He's written a book that apparently you said he's very good. So we'll have a word with Gavin.
Yeah, we'll get Gavin on for that. Smashing guy, always great player for me at Chelsea. But no, it'd be great. Yeah, great.
If only he'd have scored that goal at Wembley instead of hitting the bar in the. Anyway, we won't mention that.
Yeah, that would have been a different game completely, wouldn't it?
You'd still be there. With all the Abramovich's money. Just what about that?
That would have been.
Yeah. You're good at spending other people's money. Everybody is, aren't they, really? Look, some big games next week. Thursday, Liverpool, Chelsea. And Sunday, it's the Manchester derby, Man City, Man United. If City win that game on Sunday, I mean, they're already 12 clear of the in, but that's it then, isn't it? They've got it. They've won it.
In my opinion, if they lose that game on Sunday, they've still won it.
Okay.
I really do. That's how strong, and they've earned that. They've earned, things weren't going that great for all teams. No one was consistent at the beginning of the season. They really weren't. But they're the only ones that have come out, and they've had injuries as well to key players. They've lost Aguero, De Bruyne, but that's the depth of their squad. They've played just the same, if not to a degree, not better, but they've played no different with or without them. And it's amazing when you think De Bruyne, what a great player he is. They're just, and the key for me with Man City is they've got the balance of their game now. Years ago, you could always score goals against City. You always felt you could get at them, especially the top teams and in Europe. But now they're keeping clean sheets. The balance of defending and attacking is just perfect. And I think it's the best squad or the best showing at the moment of consistency. And I think it is City's year to win the Premier League again. But I think they look as if, to me, they won't. That squad won't have a better chance of winning the Champions League as well.
Yeah, 2 defenders scored on the weekend, didn't they? I mean, what a ball from De Bruyne for that first header. I mean, it was beautiful, wasn't it? I mean, if you'd have put that in there for Steve Archibald 30 years ago, he'd have loved you there.
It was a fabulous ball. It really was. Off his, he's relatively 2-footed, isn't he? He favours his right more than his left, but it was off his left foot as well. No, it was what I call a sunny side up ball, and it was made in heaven, that pass. And that's what he's capable. He wasn't playing very well at the beginning of the game. I like watching him play, so I'm always looking at his positions. And I looked at him, I thought, he's not there today. And then suddenly, just bang, hits that ball. And suddenly his game came back on. He's a wonderful player. It was a wonderful ball as well. And similar to Saka's ball, Saka at Arsenal for the European game, against Benfica. That was a beautiful cross ball as well. So it's lovely when you see things like that happening on a football pitch. That's why we watch the game and we love the game.
Neither of us clearly Manchester City fans, even though I grew up in the town just outside of Manchester. But watching them is fantastic because they're going to do something that make you go, wow. Sometime in the 90 minutes, someone's going to have a wow moment there. Yeah,
and they keep the ball so well. They've got so many options. Every player, in some ways, it's easy. It's a pleasure, isn't it, to play for Manchester City? I would imagine. Just you've got so many options on the pitch. Everyone's comfortable on the ball, But now as I say, they've got two or three. They've got three central defenders for two positions, and even if they rotate, or those three have really brought them on defensively. They really have.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email Glenn at midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
And before we go, I just want to mention about the cricket this week. England's, the India game, and I put something on Twitter, which, I just thought, I love my cricket, and I thought the Test match, you can't have a Test match that lasts 2 days. It's ridiculous.
You can if you bat like that.
Well, it's not, yeah, but I don't believe. I think you've got to put that down. Yes, India were better than us, but Test cricket for me, you've got to have a balance between a fair balance to make it a fair contest of bat against the ball, not the pitch. A pitch cannot decide whether you win or not. And I know people will say, well, in England you can leave it green grass on it for swing bowlers and blah blah blah. But it's you don't go through teams like that. And if our actual best batsman, who's a part-time spinner, can take 5 wickets for 8 runs, and he's our best batsman, by the way, then there must be something wrong with the pitch. And it's like playing a football match where the pitch decides whether you win or not.
Yeah.
Or a snooker table that's tilted one or whatever that makes one player. And that's the great thing about cricket. I love the battle between bat and ball.
Yeah.
The ball always wins a Test match. The bowler, you have to win. You have to win a Test match or any match. You have to get 20 wickets. So the bowlers are the ones that win the games. Well, the batsmen will try and tell you that it's not the case, but it is always the bowlers, because without 20 wickets, you cannot win the Test. So it baffled me. I was set fair. I had a nice cup of coffee. I was there, set fair for the 5 days. And my son, who's an ex-cricketer, was the same. And we had a conversation today with Jamie, my boy, and we were gutted that we were winning today. I mean, if crowds were coming in, and you had tickets for the final day, or second or even the third
day, yeah,
to the third day. I mean, that's crazy for a fabulous sport like cricket to have that happen. And I know there was a lot of reaction. People saying, "Oh well, we weren't good enough." And yes, of course, we can bat better, and they're better than us playing spin and all that. But we got, Root got 5 wickets for 8 runs against the best
in about 15-minute spell as well, didn't he?
Against the best batsman who plays spin in the world. So don't tell me that weren't down to the pitch.
Well, to be fair, watching it, not one of the batsmen, India or England, looked comfortable at any stage. You could see they're going to go any minute now. There was no one that really settled themselves in, did they?
On top of that as well, the reason for that as well, Chris, is they played with a pink ball. Yeah. And the pink ball is notorious for the lacquer stays on the ball. So that's what the key was as well. Yes, it was spinning to first slip at certain times, and then the next thing, if it doesn't hit the seam, it actually skips through straight. It doesn't take the spin because of the lacquer on the pink ball. So not only did they have the pitch to deal with, they had that pitch with that ball, and that was, for me, was a mismatch, I'm afraid. And I think television, you take 5 days. Whoever took it, I think it was Channel 4.
Yeah.
You imagine you're expecting your television, 5 days of cricket, or 4 at least. And that can't be right. It just, it's like playing half a match of football and saying, oh, well, that's it now. The game's over. You're not going to get the other half.
The only winner there was my friend Rishi Prasad, who introduced it for Channel 4. 5 days pay, 2 days work. That's the kind of job we like. Good luck. Well done, Rishi. Lovely stuff.
He's had a result there.
Top result. And who'd have thought, after all the VAR controversy, Tottenham winning 4-0 at home on Sunday, that Glenn would be so upset about the cricket?
I'm a sportsman, see. I'm a sportsman.
Well, on that note, that's all for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again next Sunday with episode 26, and we look forward to you joining us then. Have a safe week, everyone.
That's all for today. See you next week.